What up? What up? I am back. What's up, folks? I need a charger. I got enough juice. Yeah, I got enough juice to survive for a little bit. One of y'all in here, make sure y'all share, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'm back a little bit, but yeah, make sure y'all jump in here. Yes, Juan 1100, what's good? Young C Money, what's good with you? Yeah, Davey, I know you want to jump. Davey ain't gonna jump on though. Davey, the one that keeps saying cut Zeke too, but you ain't gonna jump over here and get at me though. You know what I'm saying? Like you scared. Pat, what's up, man? Charlene, how you been? How you been? Alpha Mason, my guy. He said the bat signal. What's good? Big Mills, what's up? David Montez, what it do, man? Right back at you. Who else we got in here? King Ken, GT, what's good? You must be Dragon Ball Z fan like me. I grew up on it. Oh, where we at? Where we at? Where we at? He said, thanks for answering my question. What question was that? What question was that? What's your question? Be specific. Uh, he said, uh, let we own your, he said, let we own your Zeke takes. What you mean? Let we own. I think he spelled that wrong. Some typo, Davey. Mark Smith, what up? He said, you ready for this? I'm ready for it too. But y'all see, listen, in the description, there's a link. I gotta go in like 45 minutes. I ain't got a lot of time. So in the description, there is a link for anybody. I only want people joining up, not people who trying to show me their toes or no shit like that. Join up and debate if you want to debate why we should cut them. I'm not here to like tell you that if you're talking from a fiscal standpoint, because I see all y'all got your accounting gear on and so on. So if you talk from a fiscal standpoint, I'm not gonna argue with you because everybody said, oh, he should take a pay cut. Well, obviously, if you got to pay Tony, Zeke does need to take a pay cut or he needs to restructure. We're not arguing that. Zach Martin restructured. You know what I mean? Tyron Smith restructured. Guys restructure to stay on the team all the time. So we're not arguing should he restructure. If you make that your argument, I'm going to click off immediately because you want some bullshit. The argument I'm having is Zeke able to play anymore? And the ones who say he isn't, I want to hear from you. You know what I'm saying? What up, Okoye? Shout out to from BKNY. Let's go. Yes, sir. Law about to jump on. Let's go, Law. Let's go. We can have it out, Playboy. You know what I'm saying? Shane Giacob, what's good with you, man? He said cut a top 15 running back. Make that make sense. I feel you on that one, Tyrone, man. You make six. Zeke hits defenders like they owe Zeke hits the defenders like they owe him child support, man. I feel you. Have three backs play, extend these running backs deep in the season. Exactly. I agree with you, King Ken. You make a lot of sense. Um, Mark Smith, I'm on your side. I went at it with Sky Show this morning with people. Yeah, man. Yeah. Zeke keeps Dak off the ground. All those things being true, man. They all true. But the main thing I want to say is, those who try to make my argument about money. If you keep talking about money, I'm not. Nobody's arguing money, man, because we do get that. We have a salary cap. But those arguing about money and saying we need to go do something with the money, now you in la la land because we had money last year. What we go do with it? We get T.Y. Hilton and a bunch of journeyman players. That's all we ever do with money. The year before that, what we do? We went and got Dontari Poe and who else? The other kid that I liked, start with a W, the defensive back bull. But we go out and get guys like that are journeymen. We're not investing heavily in nobody in free agency, and we're not trying to pay anybody either. Anybody who gets paid for the Cowboys, you're going to get that money for maybe 2-3 seasons. And if you slip up one time, they ask for some of that money back, a la Zeke, Dez, Zach Martin, Tyron, anybody who get even Dak, they're going to restructure. They already extended him. Are they going to restructure him soon? So anybody who get money here, you do know if you're going to stay here, you're going to be restructuring and doing something that's amicable for the team. Are you going to be like Jalen Smith and you're going to be the F up out of here? So I'm trying not to curse so much because Charlene gonna make me put money in that swear jar, and I don't feel like doing that. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. Akuye Media, let Vach and them set up a roundtable because see the preview jabs and free agency. Yeah, we can definitely do that. I don't think we differ in opinions, because if they're saying we need to go and get a guy in the draft, why would I argue that? If we were in the middle of training camp and you got a guy like Bijan Robinson or something in training camp, and you saying, Zeke don't want to play with their contract, okay, I can understand the business decision that they would have to make. I'm not talking about business. I'm talking about level of play, or from a coach or a fan standpoint, not from business. So you take your GM hats off, because everybody got their GM hat on, and that's what my biggest problem is with everyone. They got their GM hat on. Take the GM hat off, man, because you're not paying these guys. They're going to figure out what they're going to do money-wise. And if they can't figure that out, everything I'm saying is a moot point anyway, because he's not going to be here because of himself, not because of his level of play. But for those who saying, oh, he's washed because he got hurt the last 2 seasons, they're not realizing something. And I don't know if I should save that for law or should I just say it right now, but it's crazy. Not to make this a Tony versus Zeke thing, but Tony Pollard been injured the last 2 seasons too. You don't get that. He had plantar fasciitis last season, and then this season he broke his leg. And as far as who's more available or who's more hurt at this point in their career, it's Tony. And he's 2 years younger. It's not like Zeke is old. So he's 2 years younger. They're 2 different style backs that we need. I said this before and I say it again. We never hear this argument when you're talking about Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. You never heard this argument when you were talking about Thunder and Lightning with Chris Johnson and what's the other kid name? I always forget his name. Kid like Lindell White. You had Brandon Jacobs and Tiki Barber. These things make sense. Are the Patriots, who had Burkhead, James White, and LeGarrette Blount or somebody else. They always had 3 backs, 4 backs, because they know they want to run and they want to run aggressively, but they also need to be able to run deep in the season. So if you wanted to say, let's pay Zeke less and ask him to do less, cool with me. We get Zeke longer, no problem. But to say Zeke just can't play doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to me when you got a guy who will play on one leg for you, I think, and still score touchdowns after that. He was productive after he got hurt. He wasn't himself. I won't even say that, but he was in there. You know what I'm saying? Other backs wouldn't even have been there. We would have been running with Malik Davis or something like that. You know what I mean? And ask Brian Schottenheimer, who ran his running backs into the ground. They all would go. Carson had a 3-year career. Penny is okay, and then they got the kid Walker over there now. But these guys aren't having long shelf lives either, because they're running a little bit too much. So I think in his scheme anyway, you want a three-man rotation. Okay, let's see who we got in here, man. Law Nation done jumped on. Davey said Bobby Wagner. I think Bobby Wagner is more like a bar type of pick, man. Let me put Law in here, man.
What's up, man?
What's good with you, Brody?
Nothing much.
I've been jet setting and forgetting, man. I got to get back on here, man. Good to see you. Good to see you.
No doubt, man. Good to see you too,
you
man.
Was starting shit, man. Law called me while I was in Columbia. It was like, jump on.
Yeah.
And put me in the middle of the heat. I didn't even know what was going on. I woke up out my sleep like, let's go. Let's get it.
I put you right into the fire, man.
Yeah,
hey, so this my thoughts on Ezekiel Elliott. And I know you said you pressed for time.
Let's go.
This is my thoughts. I truly believe that Ezekiel Elliott is very valuable to this team. I think that he's a very, very good running back. But what happened, back-to-back injuries with the knee. Now, if the Dallas Cowboys want to move on from Ezekiel Elliott, I got no ill wills against that. My only thoughts is just make sure you replenish.
Yeah.
Just make sure you find someone else can do those things that Ezekiel Elliott did for us. Now, granted, 12 touchdowns last season, only 3 other running backs did that.
Right.
Last year. So better be careful what you ask for. But a lot of people looking at it like, man, this dude washed, man, this dude trash. And I clearly, when you go back and watch the tape, I don't think we beat Cincinnati last year, week 2. And that game against the LA Rams, we needed those 3rd and short plays, man, to get those first down. I don't think we do good in those.
Like you said, Cooper Rush gets the credit for those games where Dak was out. But Zeke was what we were really leaning on in those games. We were a run-heavy, field position, defensive-minded type of team. We were playing more like Herm Edwards. We were running the ball consistently, shortening up that clock, and then just asking Cooper Rush to finish. But that was on Zeke and Tony's back that we were doing that on. It wasn't on Cooper Rush's arm. He wasn't throwing for 300 yards a game. You know what I'm saying? So people who say, oh, it was just Rush, the reason that we even had a chance at the offseason this year, it was because of Zeke and what he was doing in the first half of the year. And So I agree with you there. And my argument isn't whether the Cowboys get rid of him or not. Obviously, we got to replace him. The problem I'm having is with the people who say he's washed and we should move away from Zeke. The should is where my problem comes in at. Not if we do. If we do, we do, because if he doesn't agree monetarily, obviously nothing we're saying even matters, because they're going to cut him or get rid of him anyway. And we know that about Jerry Jones. You're not going to get paid for very long here if you have a hiccup and he paid you some money. You're going to give some of that money back. That's just the way Jerry historically has been. So I wouldn't even argue that, because it would, even if I don't agree with it, I know what Jerry's going to do with that. So that's not an argument. My argument is he's washed and can't play because of injury the last 2 seasons, when Tony has been injured the last 2 seasons, and we want to give him, while he's still injured, a check. We about to give Tony, they about to franchise Tony for $10 million, right? But Tony just coming off surgery, a worse injury than Zeke has. Zeke's never been injured in that way. The year before that, he had plantar fasciitis, where he wasn't able to make those big runs and cut anymore after that. Everybody was forgiving of that, right? They forgave that with Tony. They forgave the broken leg with Tony in the playoffs, right? But with Zeke,
you know what? You know the craziest thing about it? If they do decide to do that, like let's say, for example, they get rid of Ezekiel Elliott because of the money, and he don't want to restructure or take that cut.
Right.
And if you go ahead and go into this thing and say, okay, I would give, dare I say, Tony Pollard that $10 million as it relates to that franchise tag. Don't you know it will be cheaper for the Cowboys to go ahead, because the market value for Josh Jacobs is $12 million. It'll be better for you to spread that money out, sign Josh Jacobs, and go into this draft and let's say get a Gibbs or what have you, and go with Josh Jacobs and Gibbs, versus just putting the franchise tag on Tony Pollard and going out there for 1 year. That's what I'm saying with the franchise tag.
So you want to get rid of Tony too?
I'm talking about if they decide to do the franchise tag. If they do the franchise tag, I don't like the franchise tag. That means that they don't believe in the said player. And now that's a big chunk. You can't prorate that money. You can prorate a $12 million APY out of a Josh Jacob, because that's his market value, juxtaposed to just the 1 year out of Tony Pollard. That's just what the numbers say. You know what I'm saying? From a mathematical aspect.
Y'all always putting y'all fiscal hats on, and everybody's a GM. That's why I'll be coming at y'all about that. Listen, I get you there, but when you're looking at building, to me, when you're looking at building the team and knowing what you have, like Josh Jacobs, one of my favorite running backs in the league. I get you there. But if you're going to go out and get a Josh Jacobs, in my opinion, you look at the way he runs. The way he runs, if you pay Josh Jacobs big money, you're going to be having this issue in 2 years anyway. So in my opinion, I'd rather pay Zeke less and get, although slightly less production out of Zeke. I know he's going to be here 2 years from now. I know he's going to be available. Josh Jacobs, we're going to be having the same conversation in 2 years if you pay him big money, because obviously most of the fans look at it like it's our money. We all get dividend checks, right, Law? Because it's our money and we paying these guys. And in 2 years, we're going to be complaining about that money too. This is the only fan base, and I probably wouldn't say this if it wasn't for this, but it's the only fan base I've ever seen that complains about what we pay our players so much. I haven't seen that, except for maybe Denver with Russell Wilson. That's because his contract is locking them up in so many ways. I get that, but our fan base, because the media talks about Dak's pay, because the media talks about what these guys are making and their availability, we talk about it all day long as if we're paying them, and we're not paying them. And we figure out a way for them to be available anyway, because that's not our job. That's Jerry's job to figure out how to cut guys here, how to restructure there to make sure we have a good product available for the field. And I trust that they're going to continue to do that with good fiscal responsibility, because they cheap. They ain't trying to spend a lot. That's what they're going to do anyway. But when you say it's cheaper to go get a Josh Jacobs, yes. But will Jerry go get a Josh Jacobs is what you should be asking. No.
No. In a perfect world, what I would look at is, of course, Ezekiel Elliott, he would take the pay cut or what have you. And then with the Tony Pollard situation, they'll figure out a 2 to 3 year deal with him. And then we go draft another running back. That's what I think the Cowboys should do. I don't think that they need to go crazy and cutting Ezekiel Elliott and cutting Tony Pollard. That's cutting the team in half, especially when you're going into a new season with a new offensive
You want to
change.
go into a
Yeah,
season not knowing nothing about the running backs that you have here, not
right,
knowing if they fit your scheme, not understanding the commodity you have. Before we get into that, though, let me say, Coach Marv sent $10. He said, "Great job, brother." He said, "Man, Cowboys fans don't understand that this Zeke thing is just like D Law thing last year. We wanted him off the boat, but his play said we needed him to keep play. We needed to keep, and he played well." I agree with you to that degree. But when we look at the way we're going into the season, I don't want to go into a season with unknown commodities at running back.
right,
I don't think, because this draft is deep, I don't think you just ignore running back, though. You go
right.
get one.
Go
And
get
you
one.
rotate all three of them in. It's best for all of them. It's
Right,
best fiscally for the team if you go draft the running back and keep Zeke. Because fiscally, if you draft the running back and he's not a bell cow back and he's not putting up yards, 3 years from now, when Zeke is really time for him to go, and this guy's up to get paid, he's not going to ask for a lot of money because he ain't been
right,
putting up the stats to get that type of money. So it helps us keep the guy that we draft, keep him fresh until Zeke is out and Tony is out. And it makes it so that all these guys are fresh going later into the season, because then none of them are smashing and bashing the entire season. So, I like that aspect of it, especially with a run heavy coach scheme or a West Coast coach scheme, because when you look at the West Coast scheme, you get different elements out of their play. Because you
right.
could throw the ball to Tony, you can get the ball in the Tony hand quick, whether it's screen passes, quick little shovel passes, option routes, things like that, where he can get the ball in space and let him do what he does best when we're in short yardage situations. Let Zeke be the bus for us, man. Let him get his first downs, touchdowns, and so on, and call it a day. They did it with LeGarrette Blount. They've done it with Jerome Bettis. They
Get
did it
him.
with Marshawn Lynch. Like, this is what you do. This is like
Mm-hmm.
commonplace in football. And we act like this stuff is asinine. You've never heard of it before. But, for a guy that will play for me with a really partially torn ACL, PCL, MCL, whatever you want to say, a lot of people look at that like that's a devalue thing. They say, "Oh, he can't wiggle like he used to." He was
Right.
wiggling before he got hurt both seasons.
Yeah.
I just showed that. Now, if he gets hurt and he can't, I can see why. If he was
Right.
coming into the season playing the way he's playing at the tail end of seasons, then I would say he's degrading and he would be a problem. But that's not the case.
That's not the case,
That's
nor
not the case.
scenario.
Does he get, like, who's going to be more prepared for the season at the start of this season? Is it going to be
Right.
Zeke or is it going to be Tony?
Yeah, but the unknown is always in the Cowboys world, always the sexier option, right? They would look at the wide receivers or running backs or whatever, like bring in any quarterback. That's always the beat of the nation, because they getting tired of what we've been seeing for the last few years, and they lump it all together. Just like Mike McCarthy woes and issues is lumped in with Jason Garrett woes and issues, etc. Right. So I look at it from that aspect of it. And here's another thing that I wanted to say with this whole running back situation, fiasco, whatever. I just look at it like, man, at least let Brian Schottenheimer get into here, because we seen what Chris Carson was able to do. Yeah. And is Ezekiel Elliott better than him? I would say yes, and I know he got an injury thing going on. He
got 1,000 yards on with a flat tire 2 years in a row almost. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah. And let me ask you this. Let me raise you on this one. Question on this one. In the last 4 years, or in the last 2 years, who's been a better player collectively? DeMarcus Lawrence or Ezekiel Elliott?
Ezekiel Elliott, easy.
Right. And what if I told y'all? Let me find my my music here. What if I told you that D-Law counted more against the cap than any other player outside of the quarterback? Even more than the quarterback in the last 4 years. Remember, he was franchise tagged twice. And on top of that, this season, he'll count $26 million against the cap. Last season, $17 million against the cap. And where are those double-digit sacks? Where are all of those productions? Why is his feet are not held to the fire? And I promise y'all, I'm not in the business of getting rid of D-Law. I'm trying to add a big boy down inside and make that even better.
Yeah, I was last year. So, but I agree with you. And when you look at guys like, he just asked this question, so it's perfect segue. What you mean, or why, man? I don't know how to say your name, man. But I appreciate the super chats. He said, if TP, Saquon, and Josh Jacobs were the same price, who would you want? Yes, along with drafting the running back. I mean, what TP does as far as home run hitting, I like TP.
Yeah.
But you can get that out of Saquon. But Saquon has had the injury bug too. I don't hear nobody talking about Saquon. Saquon in his first 4 seasons hasn't done anything close to what Zeke's done in his first 4.
Talk
Or
to
TP.
him.
I mean, to me, Josh Jacobs is another one that's a beast. But Josh Jacobs gets 300 carries a year too. Like he's doing 1,300 yards and 1,800 yards total off of 300 plus carries, 400 touches with between pass and catches. So, and this year was the first year that he actually went crazy. The rest of them were just, good years. So
Right.
even with that, I like them all, but I'm gonna keep TP because I know what I got in TP. That's what I would deal with.
Right.
Not who's worth the most money. All of them are great backs, equally as good. But to me, if you're not giving Saquon that much trouble because of his injuries, because he had a sickening injury bug. It wasn't I got injured and I'm just, limited. I'm just not there, for games. Zeke hasn't been that. So I value availability, especially when you got a smash mouth type of scheme. But a lot of fans just don't agree with that for some reason. I don't get why. Let me jump to one more super chat because we got another one in here that been on here for a second. Then let's Coach Marv again. Actually, he said second thing. If we have decided that the run game is important to Dak's success and the new coach's OC success, why would you trust that to an unknown? We need to double down. I would agree with you there as well.
Yeah.
I would agree with you there as well. But when you look at players' availability, I think that's important. I looked at D-Law last year. I know he had 2 fractured feet and a messed up knee and still made sure he was available, man.
Right.
And that's what made me respect him more, although he didn't get us the productivity. So I'm not saying get rid of D-Law either because and there's an aspect to momentum and motivation as well, like locker room guys. And Zeke is another one of those guys that gets things started. And when he's healthy, defenses don't want to hit him. They don't want to hit him. But since we're talking about it, we don't talk about the fact that Terrence still went down. We were shuffling around the offensive line the entire season. We don't run with a fullback anymore. And Zeke started to decline the moment Kellen Moore took over, who said out his own mouth, I just want to pass the ball.
He just want to pass the ball.
So he's been bad he's been going down for the last 4 years. Well, he's been splitting carries for the last 4 years with Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
And he had Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator too. So we would have really been looking at the last bit of Zeke right now if he was still getting 300 carries a season for the last 4 years. We would have got the productivity we wanted out of him. And a lot of y'all would have been saying, maybe it's time for him to retire now because he would have probably flattened a little bit more tires. But the injuries that he has aren't debilitating to a point where he can't recover in the offseason because he's done it last year. And I think he could do it again now because he's a guy. If he's playing out there with the injury, I mean, nothing but 6 months or 7 months of rest is going to do nothing but help him be ready for the start of next season. Now, if next season,
but you know what? But you know what? Here's my thoughts of Koye.
Yeah.
I look back at Ezekiel Elliott, and I've been like in the middle. I haven't been like super high on him nor super low. And in 2019, I promise you guys, y'all can find clips, tapes of me saying, man, get rid of Zeke, dog. Get rid of him. Because me not knowing all what Kellen Moore was bringing to the table. And then when I got a chance to relook at everything and reevaluate and reassess, because that's what you got to do when you look back at film and you realize, oh, this dude is a collector of plays. Oh, there's no scheme, no system that's in place with Kellen Moore. I thought that he was going to come in with a legitimate scheme system or something in place. But week to week, here's what we can't do, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody that's watching right now. What we can't do is sit back and say, all right, Kellen Moore, he didn't dial up a good play for the offense as it relates to wide receiver or quarterback.
Right.
So what you mean? He dial up a good play for the running back? Come on, we can't have it both ways. If he's trashing calling plays for the wide receivers, what the hell do y'all think what he's doing with the running back scheme? There were none. Every week is week to week.
Since Kellen got here, man. He's been running out of shotgun. He is an I form fullback. He had a fullback before Kellen got here. He's an I form fullback type of guy. And we got rid of that guy, the last fullback we had, number 30. What was his name? The African guy, a fast one. Forget his name. You know what
You
I'm
talking about? Hold on.
Start with an O, right?
The Colts. He had dropped that pass.
He dropped
God,
that pass and got rid of his ass.
Jamez. Oh, is it Jamez?
Alawale.
Yeah,
Yep,
Jamez.
Alawale.
Yeah,
Ever since we got rid of
Jamez.
Alawale, we ain't had a damn fullback for Zeke. And Zeke been going down ever since. So I get that, but you gotta take, like you said, take that into account. And then I can prove that to you with guys like with teams like the Colts, what they do with Taylor. You know what's coming, but you can't do nothing about it. Same thing with the Eagles. When they get on the goal line, you know that they outlawing the quarterback sneak because of the Eagles, because all they do is push it. But their scheme is saying we're gonna do consistently what we know works, and you gotta stop it. We ain't gonna stop it for you. Right. We will stop what we're doing. We did that in the Tampa Bay game last year. We did it in several games. Tampa Bay game last year, the Eagles game, the Packers game, we tried to throw the ball like crazy. Like, we go out and do things that are unbecoming to our identity. And right. Then wonder why everything is on Dak and we can't win. Dak can blow apart teams that if he catches something, or you just not on whatever he's doing pre-snap and you're not confusing him enough, Dak will rip you apart. But in the games where he's not, even Aaron Rodgers understands this. Peyton Manning used to understand this. It was a reason Peyton Manning had Edgerrin James.
Right. All of Fame.
You know they on to whatever you're doing. Sometimes it's best to just hand the damn ball off.
Hand it off, man.
Smash these guys. And we weren't doing that. Kellen would do it like, I know people are going to ask me how many times I ran. So here's a run for you. I'm going to do 5 runs in the first quarter, 5 random runs in the second quarter. Then 5 runs in the third quarter, random. 5 random runs in the fourth quarter. I ran the ball 20 times.
You know what the craziest thing about this, though? And people like the fights, right?
Right.
They like to say CD Lamb. See, he was better than Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper better than CD Lamb. Oh, hey, Dak versus Cooper Rush.
You hear people saying Jefferson is better than Thielen. You hear people saying that?
No, you don't hear that from other camps. And now it was, of course, all the years of Tony Pollard versus Ezekiel, with not respecting both skill set. I look at Tony Pollard not just as a running back. I look at him as a specialized weapon. He can be on kickoff and punt returns. You can utilize him out of the slot. Look, here's the truth. Even Kellen Moore didn't know what to do with Tony Pollard nor Zeke, because even if you like Tony, you only seen about 46 to maybe 55% of him. You haven't seen all what he can do. And if you really pay attention to Ezekiel Elliott, you pick him up and you put him on the Niners or the Colts in their scheme, or even if, look, that's why Lord Brunson is banging on the table saying, hey, y'all get rid of Ezekiel Elliott. We would take him, you put him in another scheme. Shoot, you'll be talking about, can I get Zeke back? Because you don't get a chance to see the full weaponry out of him because of, I hate to say this, y'all, but these are facts, because of Kellen Moore.
Yeah, I agree. Kellen did not run the ball effectively. He didn't do anything consistently. Except for the only consistent thing Kellen did was comeback routes and reverses. Right. Those are consistent. He do that all the time. Comeback routes, and if you get on the 30, I called this out 4 or 5 years ago. 4 years ago, I said, if you get to the 30 or the 40 in the opponent's territory, he's running a reverse or some sort of reverse action. I'm a dude at home. Why do I know that? I'm not scouting the team to play him. Why do I know that? So defenses knew that too. Kellen was definitely a very predictable guy, although he was good at drawing up plays. And I
mean, he's a hell of a play designer, right?
Yeah.
Now, just because you draw up a play doesn't mean that you understand how that play should fit within the confines of your system. It's about making a team play left-handed and forcing them, taking away their good things that they do and force them to go the opposite way. And this team just never built off of it. Dog, don't you know I would have been building off the 14 personnel, 13 personnel? I would have been building around that and said, okay, I'm going to do this until they say, God, dog, man.
Right.
Let's stop it. Let's figure out a way to stop it.
Our screen passes. You ain't throwing no screen passes to Tony Pollard all season. That is crazy. But Puncho the King says, so it's everyone but Zeke. Come on, God. And that's not what we're saying, man.
Not what we said.
What we're saying is, is anybody? I'm not blaming Tony. I wasn't blaming Dak for getting injured. I don't blame players for getting injured and not being available at all. Dak wasn't available for a whole season. We said, okay, Dak got hurt. So if a guy gets injured and still plays, why would I hold what he does after getting injured against him when he's making sure he's putting his body on the line, making sure he's available to play as much as he did and still score maybe 9 touchdowns after he got injured?
Yeah.
About 8 touchdowns after getting injured. So to do that on one leg, I got to give you your credit for that. I'm not going to discredit you for it because most running backs after that Lions game wouldn't have been in for 5, 6, 7 games. If you need the knee brace to play or cut and you can't cut, most running backs just not going to be there. They're not going to play at all. So why would I hold it against you if you're making sure you're available? But I'm not holding a broken leg against Tony. I'm not holding the plantar fasciitis against Tony. Why? Because he was hurt. I'm not holding the injury against Steele because Steele was hurt. I don't even hold the injuries against Tyron Smith. The reason I have an issue with Tyron is out of all the seasons that he could have been available, 50 games, he's only available 17. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That ain't the story we having with Zeke. He's going to make sure he's available to play. So why does that count less than not being available at all is my point. Not Zeke ain't a problem. His injuries ain't a problem at all. But when I look at the injuries that he's taken, it's not he's lost a step because he got bigger. It's not Zeke is not playing well before getting injured. If that was the case, if he was like Emmett when Emmett was in the tail end of his career, he just can't really do much at all. Okay, I get you. Like even Marshawn when he was with the Raiders is like he ain't the same Marshawn, but he cool.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Cool.
Okay, I understand the bust at the end of his career. Okay, LaDainian with the Jets. Okay, Corey Dillon with New England. Okay, but that's not what we got in Zeke, man. That's really not. If it was, I would understand y'all argument. What I'm saying is before he gets injured, he playing fine from the films, not my opinion. From what I watched the film, and I went to watch the film to justify or de-justify or unjustify the things that y'all saying. I don't have a dog in the hunt. I don't care.
Right.
If Zeke is here,
I just want to win games.
Anyway. What I'm saying is I'm fair no matter what. Well, if I'm looking at a player that ain't playing good, I don't care if his name is D-Law, Dak, Zeke, whoever. Y'all know me. So if he's not playing well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say it. I don't care if he's here or not. I'm saying based on the film, he ain't playing bad. And when he gets hurt, he's getting hurt with injuries because of people.
You know what it is?
Go ahead.
He should be selfish a little bit and say, hey, I got $90 million guaranteed. Hey, I'm getting those coins regardless. So I'm not going to play hurt with that PCL situation, last year, with the PCL tear.
Right.
He should have been like, you know what? After that, I think it happened in the Carolinas game. You know what? I got my money. I got my coins. I'm going to sit on the sideline.
He knew what was going to happen to him if he'd have done that. Then they really was going to come after that money. So Zeke's trying to be available because he understands the regime that he played for, man. The history. If you're not available, they coming for that cash. And he was trying to keep his money. And he was trying to justify his pay. Just like Dak tried to justify his contract before he got it.
Right.
Now he tried to justify it after he got it. Because all we talk about around here
is the money. But nobody brings up because they don't have the recall. Don't you know we lose that game in 2021 against the Minnesota Vikings if Zeke don't get that third. I want y'all to look it up. Third, I thought it was 3rd and 20.
It was 3rd and 20?
No. Third, your dump ball pass.
Rush, right?
Yeah. Cooper Rush. He passed it.
3rd and long. I thought it was 3rd and 7, but
it was 3rd and 20.
We was on the 20. We was on the 20.
Yeah. I think
he was only supposed to go get a couple yards, and we was gonna set us up for overtime.
Yeah,
he ran through 4 guys.
And Barr was one of them, But people fail to realize they don't look back at that. And I get it. I like Tony Pollock. I think that the Cowboys should bring him back. I just don't like the franchise tag. I just look at those things as payday loans. But go ahead. What Coach Marv had to say.
Punch the King. I'm gonna get right to you, Coach Marv, and there's one other person too. But Puncho the King, he said, we seen Tony in them solo games. He go crazy every damn time. See, if your argument is Tony should be the bell cow, I don't understand how y'all justifying that when Tony is more hurt right now with less responsibility. So what you think gonna happen with 300 carries for Tony? He not gonna make it through that. That's not what you want from Tony. Less is more with him. I don't say Tony shouldn't be here, or it's
Right.
not a Tony versus Zeke argument. To keep making it that's you thinking like this is Madden. This ain't Madden, bro. But anyway, Coach Marv, he said, you can't run well without a run game coordinator. The Cowboys have showed us what offense direction they are now going to. One, West Coast offense, and two, great run game coordinator, and fans don't see it. Exactly. We are now going to correct that because we have someone who's definitely focused on the run, and I agree with you there, Coach
Right.
Marv. I appreciate the super chat too. KC podcast from the closet. That's my guy, man.
From the closet.
Check out his podcast too. His podcast, wow. He interviewed stars, man. That's that guy. He said, cut Zeke or massive pay cut. Tag TP, invest the money in the O line. Hey, that's what's gonna happen. So you speaking the facts, man. He's either gonna get cut if he tries.
Still there, bro? Or was it on my end?
What happened?
I don't know, man. The Illuminati got you. Still there. We still alive.
Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi, and I don't know why. It's on. I'm back. But yeah, I said that's what's gonna happen anyway. So we already know that. Klebo, let's look at it. He said TP played wide receiver in college, and it took 4 years for more to use him in the passing game, and still didn't use him enough. Keep Zeke. Agreed 100%, and I appreciate the super chats on that too, man.
But here's my thoughts, man. You remember Jalen Smith brother, right? I think his name was Rod Smith. You remember him? Like with a spoonful of imagery, you know what I'm saying? You seen him, be like, hey, this dude is explosive. Hey, he may get a chance to do something in the National Football League. Then he disappeared when he was given the full opportunity. What I want to tell people is that I truly believe that Tony Pollock can be a guy, not just like what Smith did. Of course, I'm not putting him on that level. But remember, this season, with his past season, was the first time that he got more than 15 touches. And a lot of people were asking, can he bring and do that again for multiple games? This is a different world, y'all, of getting north. Because if you want Tony Pollard to be the bell cow, that's meaning that you're asking him to do 20. And we seen there was a few games that the next game later, when it was asked for Tony Pollard to do more than 15, I want you guys to go back, and I know both guys look terrible, but go back and watch that Washington tape. The first time we visit, him, and somebody averaged 0.08 yards per rush, and it's not Zeke. But go ahead.
Yeah, I feel you in that. It said the rest of the league is showing you do not invest in running back. Investing 10 to 13 million is not logical. I want to say this too. The reason the league is telling you not to invest in running backs is not because running backs somehow just stopped being good after the 90s. That's not what happened. Running backs were getting 30 carries a game, like Eddie George. Those guys were consistently 30 carry a game guys. But once they started getting that level of productivity, you would get the what was his name? The dude from the Steelers. You would get that kind of problem with Le'Veon Bell type of issue. Where you got a guy who's a playmaker, or LaDainian Tomlinson, Steven Jackson, and Sean Alexander, I think his name was, from Seattle. Those guys get those 30 touchdown seasons, 18 touchdown seasons as one back. You got to pay them a hell of a lot of money. So the league shifted away from that because the Patriots was able to use older running backs and still win Super Bowls. So that's what devalued running backs, not the running backs themselves. People think that running backs are devalued because they no longer run the ball well or something. They devalue running backs because the same reason they devalue a safety. You can get a guy that can play in space and can hit, that you don't got to pay $20 million a year to. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with a running back. Like, they devalue them because they don't want to invest that type of money in one player.
And what the Patriots did was they didn't want to invest that money, but they still went and got Lawrence Maroney, first round draft pick.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, they went and got another guy, Stephen Ridley and all of those boys. They were like early draft picks. So they wasn't late down the totem pole there. And shout out to Stephen Ridley, man, from my hometown. And y'all know how I feel with Mississippi boys. But I know he went to LSU. But what I'm trying to say here is, the devaluing of running back is due to philosophy. Like think about what
make running backs less valuable.
Larry Johnson. Remember him?
Larry Johnson
ran that man into the ground.
Ran him into the ground.
Yeah.
But that don't make running backs less valuable. You see what I'm saying? The fact that they are paying them less because it's a position that's going to get you hurt doesn't make the running back. Doesn't mean you could just go get any running back. You know what I'm saying? When you have running backs that can run the ball well, you value that. KC Podcast from the closet says, but Okoye, it's 2 years in a row he's been hurt. It's 2 years in a row Tony been hurt too. You know that?
Yeah.
2 years in a row.
That's it. We call it a conundrum, huh?
Hey, but we want to pay one. We want to cut the other. And the other played hurt. The other one can't play hurt. We don't even know how he's going to start the season. But we about to cut a check for him either way to keep him here. You know what I'm saying? So we did
but like I said, I'm going to go back to my stance. Sign Tony Pollard if you're going, but don't put him on the franchise tag. You can sign him and then you can work that money out, spread it out. Go get guys on defense. Go get guys. Go find a way to bring Bobby Wagner in the house. Go find a way and then you got to wait just a little bit too, because you could have chances of getting a Marshawn Lattimore or Jalen Ramsey, because those teams may have to do fire sales and they're gonna want to go to a contender.
There you go, and I agree with you. But yeah, like you said, both of them been hurt the last 2 years. How long?
Yeah.
Ain't that funny? How they don't even notice the other one been hurt.
Right.
Cashmere 44 said, "What up, Okoye? Been a minute since I caught you live. Hackula fun. Oh, you like the Hackula? I love the Hackula hoodies, man. You know all about it. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. It definitely will go to the Hackula fund. Let's see what else we got. We got It What Man 7 again. He said it's lit. Oh, that's an L. My bad. See, I thought it was I. He said it's lit. Litty man, I guess. A lit we man, I guess. I don't know how to say that. Just say LT. He said, I don't want to tag anyone. How many years contract wise would you give players to see how this plays out with a different OC? 2 years. I would give if Zeke plays, if he gets hurt again this season and he's not, or he comes into the season not looking right, wouldn't argue with nobody after that. But barring it, I'm pretty sure if he takes a restructure, it's going to be a team-friendly deal where they don't care if he's here or not anyway. You know what I'm saying? So, 2 years. I would say 2 years. Same thing with Tony. I'm not holding nothing against Tony this season because his injury, I don't think he's going to be able to plant the way we want him to plant this season anyway, not the way he's used to. With injuries to your wheels, I always say you got to roll a barrel season with me. From Tony anyway. Zeke, I don't think he's as injured, so I expect to see Zeke being closer to what he was at the beginning of last season, and that only helps Tony. For those of you who want Tony to play well, you want Tony to be the lead guy coming off of that type of injury. We're going into a season where we're asking a guy to run a little bit more and more physical and more consistent. I don't think so, bro. I don't like it, personally speaking. I don't, but that's my take on it. What you think, Law?
Well, I think technically we all saying the same thing. We're just saying it differently. And the whole point is with Ezekiel Elliott and the whole conversation with Tony Pollard is we got to temper our expectations.
Right.
And we didn't do that with Michael Gallup. The front office literally saw an ACL tear, and they thought if you put money in front of it, it'll make you forget about it. You know what I mean? No. $60 million, it make you forget about Amari Cooper. It makes you forget about even Jalen Tolbert or whoever. But the reality of it is that, the style and the kind of caliber of Michael Gallup, who didn't get a lot of separation, right? Before. Right. We had to know that there's going to be some type of less explosiveness and all of that from him, and it's going to take time for that to heal. But people look at the money first and said that, okay, just because you paid said player, that he's going to be better, and that's not the case nor the scenario.
Very true, very true, and I agree. money don't solve every problem, man. Even having more money on this team,
More money.
we think we the Patriots anyway. So I don't know why people keep talking about free up this cap space to just have it. Like
Right.
having the figure up there, like we one of the most fiscally responsible teams, makes you feel better as a fan for some reason. But we had
Right.
23 million in cap space last season. What did we do with it? We didn't really do
Nothing.
nothing special.
Look. The same time we were banging on the table for Bobby Wagner, they used that money to pay for Dalton Schultz. And I was telling people at the time, I got tangible, evident videos that say, hey, don't pay Dalton Schultz. You can spread that money out by going and getting an Evan Ingram was available.
I disagreed
Yeah,
with
OJ.
too, until
OJ.
I watched what we got out of Ferguson and Hendershot. Once I saw
Right.
that, I said, oh,
Yeah.
we might not need Dalton Schultz, even though I respect Dalton Schultz's game, but not at the money he about to get because of that. Now, that made sense, not because I didn't, but I would have never let anybody tell me Dalton Schultz is a bum. You know what I'm saying?
No, he wasn't.
I still would have defended him too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're talking money, it's a different conversation. When you're talking money with Zeke, if Zeke is still trying to get 18 million against the cap this season, I can't help you, bro. You know what I'm saying?
You know, here's my stance on this too with Zeke. Him and Dak.
Yeah.
They both got the no trade clauses on their contract.
Right.
And if both of those boys didn't have that on their contract, shoot, I'm shopping. I'm sitting here talking to the Jets right now, saying that, hey, Jets, hey, we would give you, we would want 2 first-round draft picks for Dak Prescott or more. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And y'all know how much I care about the quarterback here.
Right.
But you will be able to shop that with the Colts, the Jets, the Texans. But by you not having that, ladies and gentlemen, you have no wiggle room to will and deal. So now you only back to the table saying either you extend player, right? Or restructure contracts. But we don't have those options though.
I bring it says I hear Okoye, but the league is placing value in other areas because running backs are not able to last like QBs and wide receivers though. Zeke been here 7 years, bro. He's been lasting pretty good in my opinion. Zeke. Now I'm not saying every running back lasts the average, but the average career of most positions is 3 seasons, whether it's being injury or just turnover, whatever it may be. Most guys don't last that long in the league, period. Quarterbacks too. Quarterbacks aren't lasting as long either because they get a new regime in. That this new OC don't like this guy. Now he's a journeyman backup or something like that. That's just the way it works. So I mean, I feel you when you say that, but at the end of the day, I'm only talking about proven commodities. Once I know what I have and I know what I have is willing to do, the reason I argued for Dez is because I knew what I had. The reason I argue for Zeke is because I know what I have. You know what I'm saying? The reason I'll argue for Steele because I know what I have when he's healthy. You know, so and I know what type of guy he is. I even got off of Connor Williams' ass as much after the Bills game when I realized he played a whole half on a torn ACL. I said,
it made it look different when you understand the situation.
Yeah, that's a guy that's really gonna try to put it all out there for you. So that, and along with the love for football and toughness, are 2 things that I covet higher than talent, in my opinion. Because that's going to keep you here, and that's things that you can build around. Like the Larry Izzos of the world, the Bill Bates of the world, the half of the Colts half of the Patriots defense back in the day, the Ty Law, they weren't the greatest talents in the world. They just were guys with high football IQ, a love for football, and they made sure they were available by any means necessary. That takes you a long way because it teaches those younger guys how to be professionals. That's why I didn't even snap over Sean Lee when he was here, even though he was very, very rarely available. I didn't hear a lot of this shit in every offseason saying, well, Sean Lee, I ain't hear none of that. But now we hear it every week. But he would be sitting on the sideline clapping every season. Every season. T. Gore Mayhall Jr. says, I like how you always show film to back up your claim. Y'all sub to these 2 and get Law to 100K. Law better be at 100K already. You ain't at 100K already?
Man, it's close, but no cigar right now. So when it get close, man, we're going to throw a big party, man, somewhere, man. I'm trying to get Jerry yacht, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we need that. I need it. Just I don't need the yacht because I don't want to pay for the upkeep.
I'm just talking about just to use it, not even pay for it. Just use it, man. Let me just use it. Let me hold it for a few days.
I learned access is just as good as cash in this world. KC Podcast from the Closet says, tag TP to see if you can produce at the same level. If so, I give him a Stephen Jones honest offer contract. Not a fan of either back, to be honest. Damn, you hate both our backs. I like them both, man. I think
Here's the thing though.
Go
If you tag him and he exceeds that, then you got to pay even more of that, right? And if you tag him and he underachieved that, then you have to say to yourself, oh, was it other factors? Were there injuries, right? Were there a change in scheme? Were there, there still leave reservations? And then that $10 million that you spend for that, you can't spread it. You couldn't do prorations of it. It's just a big hit. So that's why I compare it to a payday loan. Now, can you use some of that payday loan money to buy some stuff that's beneficial to you? Yes. But what I'm saying is that it costs more. It's the cost, and you pay for it later. So that's when I said good teams or great teams don't utilize the franchise tag. Then somebody yell out, well, hey, the Kansas City Chiefs just used the franchise tag for Orlando Brown. Well, yes, they use it. And we can look back and say that was a wonderful thing. But still, let's keep in mind for context. There was a Jalen Hurts fumble away from losing that game, right? So I look at it like that. And if y'all really contextualize it and do your homework, Orlando Brown's stat line was very like this, comparable to a Tyler Smith. He didn't outperform Tyler Smith in all factors. So now when you do your homework and you look back at it, was the franchise tag really worth it?
And beyond that, you franchise a guy like a Dak, who you're still gonna get productivity out of, even though he's franchised. I don't know what we're gonna get out of Tony with his injury, like I said in the beginning of the season, because he's coming off a broken leg and a high ankle sprain. High ankle sprain is going to probably healed already by now, but the broken leg is going to take something mental. It depends on what his mentals are, because Tony has been running a little more physical too, so I don't know how physical he's going to be with that leg the way it is. I don't know if he's going to be able to plant right and so on. So, it's going to take some he's going to be rehabbing in the offseason. We're going to see what we got in training camp. And you're not going to know until then. So paying $10 million for 1 year is like just giving him money because of his years prior. He got injured. You don't even know what he's going to be. So I agree with you there. 100%. It's LT or L Twyman. He said first initial, last name. He says L Twyman, short for Larry Twyman. LOL, nothing fancy.
I
be
calling him It's Wyman. I thought it was It's Wyman. I thought that was his name. It's Wyman.
It's Wyman or something like that. Yeah, you know what I mean. He said, so if we get one big time free agent, who would you want? If we were going after a big time free agent, that I think if it was one player or one position that would change this team drastically, and I mean drastically, it would be going after, like you said, and they're not free agents though, but it would be going after Jalen Ramsey or going after Lattimore. It's going after a corner that truly can go handle the other side of the field. So that last year we had a problem where people didn't want to throw at Diggs, and they didn't have to. They could throw on the other side of the field whenever they wanted. If you pushing a guy like Bland into the slot, and you took a guy like Jalen Ramsey and said, you are going to shut down your side of the field playing man, and now a guy is forced to throw at Bland or Diggs all day, that makes this team instantly better no matter who you got running the ball, because you're going to get more turnovers. So I think a corner, if you go, because corners don't have a high turnover rate either. They play a while.
10 years.
I would pay a corner because that would solidify this defense even more so than I think it already is. I think we good in the safety room. We got plenty of safeties, even if we don't get Wilson back. We got, we even got okay corners. I like Bland. I like what we saw out of Izzy in the playoffs. So adding a guy like that, just a top-notch corner, would be worth the money because it's a safe bet. But it would create an argument as to whether or not you're going to keep Diggs in a year, which, will become a problem because he's going to see that money passed around in that room and he's going to want his. So
yes, indeed.
That's the only thing I could think of.
My thoughts would be build from the inside out or from the core out.
Lineman.
I'll go with a Deron Payne. Seeing if I can find a way to get him to give us some push-ups.
I like that too.
Also, the Saints got somebody too, a big boy.
Though?
Who?
Hankins. What you think about what Hankins was able to show us this season?
Yeah, I'll bring him back for a cup of coffee. I know that he's limited with like instead of 60 snaps a game, you may can get 25 to 30.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't talking about paying him money. I'm just saying, is it worth paying a guy like Payne to come in here when you got a Hankins here, you got a Carlos Watkins that played very well, and then you got Big Bo? Or is it better to just draft a guy like Mozzie Smith? That's my guy.
Mozzie.
Drafting a guy that's big that can rotate in with those guys rather than drafting one guy that's supposed to come in here and be the guy in there.
Right.
Like, which one would you do?
Jeez. I like Mozzie. I do like the other kid too, from Baylor, the big defensive tackle, one of the Polynesian Warriors. You know,
I can't stand him, bro. Everybody like Ika. I watched this film.
Ika, he got short arms.
Wall that don't move, man. He just stayed right there. He don't get tackles. He's just, you can't move him though. I give him that.
He can't move him. That's
but
what
he can't move either.
He can't move either.
If you like Ika, you can't hate Dontari Poe when he was here, but love Ika because they the same player. Dontari Poe, you wasn't running right at the guy, but you can run away from him all day. You can't run away from Hankins the same way or Carlos Watkins the same way. You can run away from Ika though. He don't get get
nowhere. But here's how I'm looking at him as, and I don't know. See, it's fickle with him. Some evaluations first. I doubt he go first, but some evaluations between second, third, and fourth round.
If you got him in the third or fourth round, cool. Yeah, you're right. Right. I'll give you that. I wouldn't go high on him at all. I'm not high on him. But
right. I see what you're saying.
Cool with that. Yeah.
So you're high on Mozzie though. So what you got with Mozzie?
I watched one play from Mozzie. One play in particular. I don't even remember who they were playing. But he pulled a Micah Parsons. Remember that play against the Chicago Bears and Micah Parsons missed in the backfield?
Yeah.
Ran all the way up the field and then gets the fumble recovery, run back for a touchdown?
Yeah.
He didn't do the second half of that, but he missed in the backfield. And then I look up the sideline all the way up the field. I said, he didn't even make the tackle. But I said, is that the nose tackle? Chasing this shit down and almost chased him down. I said, that's the guy that's big as hell, but can truly run. Like he can really run. So Mozzie his athleticism is off the charts. I love Mozzie because of that. Because he's a guy that's a one tech that can play three tech if you want him to. He's like a Haloti Nada. He can move for a big guy. Or Vita Vea a little bit. But Vita Vea can't move as good as Mozzie either. Like Mozzie can move. I like that in a big guy when you're that athletic, but still a wall at the same time. That's why I looked at Mozzie as he's a pro. There's no one man in this league that's going to block Mozzie because
no one man. Okay. And what about this? What's this guy, man? And I know Chauncey. I ain't talking about him, but I'm talking about the kid from what's the name of this school? Pitts. Have you seen that kid, big boy?
Yeah, I don't know. He from Pitts. Okay. Give me his name and I'll look him up because I'm about to drop I did Devin Weatherspoon and Nolan Smith already. I'm gonna drop them soon.
Okay.
I'm finished. I just haven't put them up yet.
I haven't made it to all of the D-line guys yet. So what I'm thinking about here though is here's my thoughts and here's my philosophy. If you can create pressure from the inside, I'm trying to get those type of things done. We haven't had a guy that had double-digit sacks from the interior. Payne been a guy who's only 25. He'll be 26 next season. Right. Last time we had somebody that can create pressure and get to the quarterback and plus stop the run was Jason Hatchard. I'm looking at it from the mindset that I want to improve D-Law and I want to improve Sam Williams as well as Parsons.
This entire defense, and I keep saying it, Dan Quinn does it. And I think the only thing holding us from doing it consistently is what we're doing with J-Rock. Because Dan Quinn does it. He did it a lot more when J-Rock was injured, which is play 3-4. When we play 3-4 and you kick D-Law inside, you'll have your guy that can get you sacks and stop the run inside because it'll be D-Law in there.
Who lining up over center?
No, over center, you would take Hatcher or somebody like it. Doesn't matter who's over center. Over center, you would line up Hatcher or one of those guys. I mean, Hankins. Or one of those guys.
And how many reps you can do that at,
But when you look at this. Right now we got a problem because you got Chauncey who can't really find a spot because he's not a true outside stand-up guy or defensive end, but he's not a true 3 tech either. But he is a 3-4 defensive end. And you got OC, who can also play that same position. You got D-Law that could play that 3-4 defensive end position on either side of a guy like Hankins. And then when you take a Carlos Watkins and you put him in that 3-4 shaded defensive end instead of 3 tech or instead of 1 tech, you got yourself a wall inside with 2 athletes on the outside with Sam and Micah Parsons on the outside. That front 5 right there is you're not running on that consistently, period. And that, but the only reason we don't do it is because we like what we have in J-Rock being out there. And that's because I saw us do a lot more of it when J-Rock wasn't there. We ran some 3-4 and it looked good to me. I think when J-Rock comes back, we start playing a lot more big nickel than we play when he's not there. So I think that's part of our issue. But I think that's the one thing I would change on this defense that would change the entire defense, because our main problem isn't guys running up the middle. Our main problem is the edges. You won't have the problem on the edges if you let D-Law do what he want to do anyway, which is crash the B gap anyway. So put his ass in the B gap and say, do your thing. And he gonna kill from there. See what I'm saying? And you get more out of his you get more out of him, and you get less scrutiny on him because he's not asked to get you 10 sacks from there. A D-Law plan where J.J. Watt plays versus playing on defensive as a defensive end, to me, he's looked at a lot better because you got a guy outside of him at all times that's rushing the passer, and Micah Parsons or Sam Williams, and D-Law is only dealing with one man. If D-Law can run through 3-4 faces and still force fumbles, I don't got a problem with him dealing with a guard by himself consistently. I think he'd kill that, and that would put more life on his career. But that's what I would do with him. Hold on, let me get to a couple more super chats because I got to jump off here. I got somebody outside waiting for me right now. Hold on. Davey84. He says the 2 games Pollard started in Chicago and Green Bay, Pollard had 6.8 yards per carry, 246 yards, and 4 TDs. Did Zeke even have a 100-yard game this season? Zeke didn't have a 100-yard game this season, I don't think. But I do realize that y'all still looking at a Zeke versus Pollard conversation.
Yeah, they're looking at
Because if you ask Pollard to play the amount of snaps that you would want him to play, like full games, Pollard will only be available to you maybe 5 games out the season, maybe 6, man. And that's truly what I think, because he's already breaking down. And he hasn't gotten a full season yet. He hasn't had a full flow ever in his career, but he's already injured just as much and more severe than Zeke's ever been injured. So if you think that more of that is going to cause less injuries to Pollard, you're not making much sense to me, bro. But I appreciate the super chat. I'm not arguing that Zeke is a better running back than Pollard. I'm not arguing that Zeke is a better home run hitter than Pollard. That would be a moot point to argue because that's on the film, Playboy. We can see that.
Right.
You know, we can see that. Eastside Harold, thank you for the $2. Okoye Law, best dream Silicon. Good luck with D'Amico Ryans this year, man. You know, we'll see you at what? No, you're gonna be 7 and 10 or something like that. Once again, KC podcast in the closet. Come on, Law. The Chiefs actually made it to the Super Bowl. We can't even pass the divisional round, so we can't really talk about the Chiefs GM moves. I mean, touche. We could talk about that, but as I said, if we were running the ball consistently and we had a consistent run game in that San Fran game, I think it's a different game. I think both years we get past the rounds.
And we're not. You're not comparing apples to apples, too. I don't think that the Chiefs would do that with Kellen Moore. I don't think that they would do that even with the mindset of how this particular team operates as it relates to those plays that have been called. Think about this. They went and got a Kadarius Toney, who was a first-round draft pick, by the way. They went and got a Juju Smith-Schuster, who is probably a whole lot better than Noah Brown. And on top of that, Eric Bieniemy, I think that he played running back while he was in the pros, right?
Both teams did the same thing.
The same thing.
KC sold out to get a Super Bowl, and the Eagles sold out to get to the Super Bowl. They went and got a Joseph and a Ndamukong Suh. They drafted Jordan Davis. They had they brought Cox back. They went and got Robert Robert Quinn in the middle of the season.
Right.
So they were selling out too to try to make it. They got Bradbury and D Slay. So they were selling out to try to make it to a Super Bowl, and it worked out for them.
It worked out for them.
That team up. Now
I wonder how this would look if Jalen Hurts never fumbled that ball and the Eagles won. So would you say, well, the Chiefs did all of the right moves still? You know, I
think when you're looking at two teams in the Super Bowl period, the way I look at it is, if you got there, you still made the right moves because at least you got to the dance. So I'll give you that. Us making it to the playoffs as well, to me, the fans that are pissed off, this season don't make as much sense to me. Although we felt good about it once Dak got back, the fact that we was even in the conversation when Dak got back was already a season-changing miracle to me.
Hold on right quick. I'll be right back, bro.
Go ahead. But that was already a season-changing miracle because those 6 games, well, he's going 6 games, 5 games, however many games he was going, those games he was going where Cooper Rush went 4-1 or 5-1. I don't know how many, I don't know which one it was. But we wouldn't even have been in the conversation to begin with. So when people start talking about the fact that we lost in the playoffs, or like you said, we can't get past the divisional round, we shouldn't even have been in the divisional round. We shouldn't have been there. And like I said before, Zeke was a lot of the reason that we were there in the first place. So when we look at Zeke, like, yeah, you got us here, but you trash. It's kind of, to me, it's disrespectful. And it's not disrespectful because I love the player. It's not about my feelings. It's like, I count what he did this season. Like, what did his play count against the season this season? Not did he average more yards statistically than Tony Pollard. What did Zeke's play add to this team? Touchdown-wise, I mean, those are a lot of games. 12 touchdowns win you a lot of games in this season, in this league. And the games where we allowed him to be that bell cow back because Dak wasn't here, they count. They count. Even the one game that we lost without Dak, which is to the Eagles, he tore the Eagles the hell up. He didn't get 100 yards, but yeah, I think he had 2 touchdowns. Or he ran through them. I know that. He was killing them. A lot of my film came from that game. So, I mean, that's just the way it goes to me. I think you got to look at it like, what does that player's play add to this team? Period. And he still almost got us 1,000 yards on one leg half the season. Right after he hurt his knee, he snapped his knee backwards. Right after he did that, man, hurdles this guy and keeps it moving. So when you got a guy that's going to come out there and play that way, I got to fuck with him, man. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. He said they're not scheming for the player's talent. I hope the plan looks better now that Kellen Moore is gone. I wanted EB from the Chiefs, Eric Bieniemy, so much because he really evaluates his players and scheme for the production. I like Bieniemy too. I think he deserves. You know, I hear echo now, Law, that you're back. I don't know
I'm back. Oh, did I mess up something? Can you hear me now?
Let me see.
Testing
Yeah,
1, 2, 3. Is the echo still bad?
No, I don't hear it now.
Oh, okay.
You good. Yeah, I agree. I like Bieniemy, but I like what we had in Brian Schottenheimer because I didn't realize he was even on the team. So once I saw, oh, he's sitting on the team, I'm like, oh, they gave him a year to sit here, evaluate the talent, and evaluate what to do with that talent without having to be the guy yet. So that was the best option for us as an offensive coordinator because he was already here and he knows what he got. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the play calling or a lot of the run game planning was partially responsible for when Dak was out because it was 2 totally different teams. Right. You look at when Dak was out, we played totally different football than we played when he came back. So I wouldn't be surprised if they say, "Hey, Kellen, you know, this ain't your cup of tea because we're gonna have to run the ball more. We're gonna let him we're gonna lean on the run game a little bit more. So we're gonna lean on the guy that designs runs a little bit better because we ran the ball a lot different and we played different type of football, like ball control offense. And I think that if you take Dak, and I said this when Dak was gone, if you take Dak and you put him in Cooper Rush's scheme, the scheme that we were playing with Cooper Rush, we'd probably not sit here complaining right now. I'll tell you that. KC from the closet. I'm gonna take these 2 super chats and then I'm gonna jump off. KC from the closet. He says Zeke did his thing. His production can be replaced. Yeah, his production can be replaced. I wouldn't argue that. I wouldn't argue that his production can be replaced, but his heart can't. I like Zeke enough to keep him here for reasonable money. That's all.
Yes, indeed.
I don't think anybody who's arguing that against me. That's who I'm arguing with. I'm not arguing with can you replace the yardage or can you get a young guy that could do some things. I say do that, but keep him anyway. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't arguing that with the bus, and I don't think we should be either. I want an OC from the Shanahan tree. I mean, I think we got a guy that in this West Coast offense, I don't think you're gonna be mad. It's not Shanahan,
right?
But it's close enough because they might throw the ball a little shorter, but they throwing the ball to the running back quite often. And I think that's going to be those extra touches that you want out of the backfield. Not throwing it to a guy that's already standing on the sideline for 5 seconds where a guy already beating down on him. they're getting the ball into their running backs' hands fast and letting them do their
And technically, this will be similar trees, though, believe it or not, because Kyle Shanahan comes from his father tree. And then, if you go real way back, it's pretty much the same tree almost,
Yeah, and you see what the Shoddy family does with running backs. Schottenheimer had nothing but crazy running games since when he was in the league. Marty, his dad, Marty Ball was a thing for a reason, because Marty Ball was, we're gonna run down your throat and we're gonna run some more. You know what I mean? So I get that. Law, hit him with whatever you want to hit him with before we close. I'm gonna let you close him because you jumped on, you graced me with your presence, man. I appreciate it.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you, man.
Because I'm trying to get everybody in before I jump off here. So go.
No doubt, man. This was a great conversation. I just don't want you guys to think that we're painted into a corner. I think we all speaking from the same tune. It's just from a different, I guess, angle, basically. Different scenario based. I think that the Cowboys still will draft a running back and just not cut our legs off from under our feet too soon. And we'll see what this team can do with a new philosophy and scheme, especially with Mike McCarthy now calling his own shots with this one. I can't wait for this season to kick off, man. Okoye, keep standing your ground, and let's continue to get things going in the best way possible.
Man, I gotta do it because dudes, they my guys, so I don't name them. I don't name them out, but you know what I'm talking about. Dudes be jumping out here with they put their GM hat all the way on, and they start looking at all the numbers. We spent $5,000 extra on lunch last season. I think we should change the caterer. You know what I'm saying? They put the GM hat on, start looking at the money all crazy, and I'm like, I wouldn't argue. I'm not arguing from the GM perspective because we all. We get tired of that argument because we know we've been complaining about Jerry GMing for more than 20 years now. So I don't even go there because I already know Jerry going to do what he want to do money-wise. And if it comes down to money, we're going to lose that argument every time one way or the other. I'm looking at perfectly like what type of player do we have and how much do we have left? Looking at the fact that Zeke is 27, less injured and more available than Tony Pollard right now. And I'm not comparing him to Tony Pollard because I'm trying to say he's better. I'm saying with a Tony Pollard obviously not being able to carry the load, I don't want to go and ask a rookie to carry the load. I would rather keep Zeke in there, let Zeke do what we know he's going to do, which is be available for short yardage, pound the rock, and then have these two young guys fresh and ready to hit home runs during the season. That's what I want, and that's what I'm looking for. And if Zeke doesn't want to get down with that, and he doesn't want to work with that contract, you know what you got to do because you ain't going to spend $30 million on running back position. You ain't going to give Tony 10 and Zeke 18. That's $28 million for two guys. They're not going to do that. Zeke knows they're not going to do that. So one way or the other, Zeke is going to take either less money or he out of here. Davey, you too late. Davey, man, you jump on at the end, man. You too late. I got to jump off, man.
All right, bro.
I'll jump on later tonight. I got to go do something real quick. My lady outside, so I got to run.
All right, bro.
I'll jump on. She cursing me out too. All right, love y'all, man. I'm out, man. You know what I mean? Peace.